I'm a fifth generation rancher here in the Flint Hills, and my daughter's the sixth generation. I worked in a dozen states on dozens of ranches all over the western U.S. cowboying, and when I decided to settle down and become a rancher, I came home because it's the best place I ever found to do it. My ranching philosophy is basically just to try to find nature's system and keep it intact and alter it as little as possible. With our cows, we try to graze them and calve them out in sync with nature, like about when the deer are having their fawns, that's when we want our babies hitting the ground. And then they have green grass and plenty to eat, and it's a whole lot easier than fighting nature.
I grew up on a farm, and I was used to spraying things and fighting against nature, and it was always such a struggle. But how we work with nature is so pleasant, and it is such a change, so you appreciate everything around you, you notice everything around you, which makes it easy to take care and preserve.
Early on, when I was cowboying, I saw that the ranches that had the best grass, the healthiest prairies, and seemed to be profitable and moving forward were doing cell grazing. And I loved cell grazing for the results that it got, but oh my gosh, I hated building electric fence. I liked cowboying and I liked taking care of the cattle, but I hated building that electric fence all the time. So from the very beginning, we started trying to find ways that we could have the same results as cell grazing without the fence building. So right from the beginning, instead of building fence, we just used herding the animals where we wanted them, placing them where we wanted them to be, putting mineral or feeding them in certain areas to influence them away from one thing and towards another. And we adapted some things, and we started doing this IMG, which is instinctive migratory grazing. And that is getting the herd instinct rebooted in them so the cattle move as a herd and want to stay in a herd, and they behave differently. They all ruminate at the same time, they drink, they take turns drinking sequentially and move away from water sources. We want to get our cattle to graze the prairie as much like the bison would have. With that, we've actually been able to tear out pretty much all our internal fences and just graze big landscape scale pastures. Patch burning is a practice that we've been using lately. We burn about a third of the ranch every year, a different third every year. And the cattle will impact that third a lot harder that year, and then the next year less, and the third year even less, and then that fourth year it burns again. So it's had virtually 2 years of rest between any given burn.
We give the prairie a chance to rest, and rest is very, very important, and that has been very beneficial to the soil health and our water quality. Low stress stockmanship is one of the best tools we use here on the ranch.
The reasons we use it is so much better for the cattle, of course, but it's better for us too. Better for our horses, our dogs, our cattle, and us.
It allows you to take care of, move, see your cattle in a way that doesn't upset them. It just keeps them kind of in their natural state.
And what we do is just try to influence the cattle to make the right decisions and influence them to not make the wrong decisions.
It's easier on our horses, it's easier on us because you don't stress as much about it. And quite frankly, it's just a blast.
Before I started running my own ranch, I worked on ranches in a dozen different states. One of the things I noticed was those kind of operations had small, thrifty cows that weren't great big fat things that had to be hand-fed and pampered and babied. They were just little rough, tough things that could go out and earn their own living. And so when we started building our own cow herd, we definitely selected for rough, tough, and thrifty cows. It's just such a beautiful system. The animal never has to leave the place. It never has to be confined and fed. It just gets to live on the prairie until it's ready to get harvested. And it's lean, it's nutritious, and it's good for the environment, and it's good for people. About 25 years ago, when my cousin and I first partnered up on this ranch, one of the very first things we did was start trying to put conservation easements on it, all the acres we had. And we had conservation easements lined up on all our acres right before he died in a plane crash. And that upset the apple cart and we didn't get it done, but now we're getting the last of our acres protected with easements this year.
Conservation easements keep the land from getting fragmented. They keep it from development. They keep it in perpetuity in its natural state.
When my cousin Warren was killed, we had to borrow a lot of money to pay the death tax and to, keep going. And we had to make a decision, either get town jobs or sell some property or something. We chose to go into the guest ranch business. We did that about 20 years, I guess. Through that, we also discovered what a wonderful opportunity that was to educate the public.
Josh and I kind of felt that our job was to educate those people that had no connection. So they learned where their food came. They learned why it's important to preserve these, areas like this. And COVID affected us greatly. And we decided to shut the business down and head in a different direction and do what we were passionate about, which was ranching and raising grass-fed beef and promoting conservation.
When we found out that we won the Leopold Award, it was just a wonderful feeling. We'd had a hard year. My mother had died. Our house had burnt down, and that was just a wonderful way to start another year, I guess, to know people recognize what we were doing.
Winning the Leopold Award is just an amazing experience. We always do kind of things that are unusual or different or considered a bit wacky by a lot of our neighbors, and I said it finally paid off.
It really, really meant a lot to us. I think one of the things that has helped us the most over the years survive and thrive is resilience. And that goes right along with our ranching philosophy of finding what nature provides and then working with from there. Because the prairie is so resilient. I guess what drives us to keep adapting and changing and trying, it's worth it. It's really worth it to be here and be stewards of this land and live here and be a part of this ecosystem. Not just be here, but be a part of it. And it's worth it.